Welcome back to the ticker on Yahoo Finance. We have Jeffrey Gundlach, the CEO of DoubleLine Capital, with us, just having a conversation about the election, which is only 4 months away at this point. Jeffrey, I look at the betting markets. I know you do too. And on predicted was Biden beating Trump and also a Democratic sweep. Yet the markets are still going up. And some people think when there's usually a change in leadership that they might go down. What do you make of that?
Well, it's true that Biden's ahead pretty nicely and predicted now. And it's also true, I think, that there's a disconnect between that and the stock market, because Joe Biden and the Democrats broadly, they pledge pretty loudly that they want to increase corporate taxes. They want to take that tax benefit away from what Trump gave corporations. And since earnings aren't going up at all, really, it's the taxes had a lot to do with levitating the stock market. And if you reverse that, that's going to be a really big problem. I was talking about, you talked the social fabric, and I think that fits into the election. I was listening to this fellow who I think they call him the president of New York Black Lives Matter. His name is Hawk Newsom. And he's actually a pretty interesting guy. And he was talking on a Sunday program, and he was talking about politics and the like. And he was, he's got particular core issues that he hammers home for his sort of constituency. But he started to go off on what he called a tangent. And he said, I don't want to digress too far, but what's wrong here is I don't trust any of these politicians. He said, they always show up about a year before the election, and all of a sudden they embrace us and they want our votes. They never do anything for us. And that sounded to me to be not a digression or a tangent. That seemed to me to be really the point. The point is that there are a lot of people that feel that they're not sure what's wrong, but they know that over the last however many years, 20 years, whatever, 30 years, whatever it is, that somehow this economic arrangement is not working for them. And they understand that it takes many different forms. And there's all kinds of data points you can look at, like wealth inequality, but there's other things than that. I mean, these people, this political regime has been in charge for a long time. And it's awful how the investment in America is so uneven, how the quality of education is so uneven. And really, it's just not being addressed. And when I hear the president of Black Lives Matter in New York say, they're not paying attention to us, that starts to sound like a third party to me. I think that if the election were in 2021 and not 2020, I really think there'd be a third party. And one thing to watch on that is the labor force participation rate. The number of people that can have a job, that have a job, is got down. I think it uptick in the most recent report, but it was down to like 52%. That 52% of the labor force was engaged. If that number goes any meaningful amount below 50, you've got a winning third party. It's called the unemployment party. It's called the I'm locked out party. And I think that's what's really happening here. And we've talked about this in past interviews. And I just think that will do nothing but get worse. And we will ultimately, I even talked about civil unrest during this summer in a past interview with you in the context of the conventions for this election. And that's already here. And I think that you were going to see an escalation in these problems as the voices of the unheard remain unheard. Primarily, except for all kinds of sound bites and promises that I've heard a lot of times before, and so have a lot of other people in the American constituency.
Yeah, Jeffrey, one final question before we let you go. One of the things about DoubleLine, even going back to the name of it, it's don't cross the double line of risk. And we have a lot of investors watching, a lot of retail investors too. And what is the risk right now that people aren't talking about enough, aren't paying attention to enough, that they should be more aware of? What is that double line right now?
I think there's a real risk, and it's not imminent exactly. In fact, I don't think it's really in the next few months. But I think there's risk that the dollar starts to reverse into a significant downtrend, because the value of the dollar versus other currencies is greatly affected by the growth in our budget and trade deficit. The trade deficit is shrinking right now because economic growth is bad globally, but it doesn't matter because the fiscal deficit has just exploded higher. I mean, we're up at over $3.5 trillion already in the first 5 months of this year. And in addition to that, And a lot of people say, but the dollar, you say the dollar is going to go down against what? Because everybody else is doing strange policies too. And that's an okay point, except it misses the fact that what we're doing here in the United States dwarfs the policies, particularly what the Federal Reserve is doing versus the ECB and other central banks. What we're doing dwarfs what they've been up to. We're really carrying the burden here in terms of fiscal explosion. And that, I think, will ultimately lead to a weaker dollar, which means that you might start to see some sort of purchasing power problems. You might also see that the dominance of the U.S. markets will start to fade away and maybe not turn into dominance, but an inferior type of forward-looking outcome. So I think these people that are buying slices of the stock market don't even know what they're doing. And have probably lost money already because they probably bought them June 8th. I just don't think they understand that this is not a fixed situation, and there are several more shoes, if not Imelda Marcos's closet full of shoes, to fall on this economic and market situation.
Something that we will be watching. Jeffrey Gundlach, the CEO of DoubleLine Capital, I thank you so much for this great conversation. I know our viewers appreciate it. It's always great to be with you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.